Pinocchio is the second Pinocchio film that has come out this year. This one is on Netflix and not inspired by the Disney, but this is the inspired by the original Pinocchio book. This film is directed, written, produced by Guillermo del Toro and stars Gregory Mann, David Bradley, Ewan McGregor, Ron Perlman, John Turturro, Phil Wolfhard, Tim Blake Nelson, Tilda Swinton, Christoph Waltz, and Kate Blanchett. And again, a father's wish of Geppetto, who's played by David Bradley. He loses his son, and he makes basically a wood carving of a person who he really wants to be his son, and that is Pinocchio, played by Gregory Mann. But he has a whole life to live, and Pinocchio makes some difficult decisions along this way, and Geppetto will try to rescue Pinocchio from the danger that he is in. The film is 1 hour and 57 minutes and is on PG. Again, this is on Netflix. Welcome back to a brand new movie review here at Max Talk. We're talking about Pinocchio, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell. I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, box office breakdown show every single week, and movie rankings. So please subscribe and ring the bell if you're new to the channel. Comment down below. First of all, if you have not seen this film, tell me, are you going to check this one out? Are you waiting more towards Oscars, towards closer to the Oscars to rewatch the film? Or are you kind of burnt out of Pinocchio after watching another one earlier this year? And if you've seen it, tell me, did you like this film? Is this one of your favorite Guillermo del Toro films? Tell me your comparison between this film and the earlier film this year. Let me know all your thoughts on this film. Non-spoiler in the comment section down below, and then please like the video. So I heard some spectacular things about this movie coming in. I had very high expectations. I'm not that person, though, who's all in on Guillermo del Toro. He's a director who I respect a lot. He goes for it a lot. But I wasn't this massive lover of, Shape of Water or, for example, and that's one that I got a lot of fights with people about. I like Shape of Water, but I didn't really get the overwhelmingly support for the film in Oscar season, I felt for other films. But he's a very interesting director, Pan's Labyrinth. So he's a very fascinating director who I'm very interested. I'm also a huge fan of stop motion animation. So this is a stop motion animation film. If you're not sure what that is, it's films like Coraline, Isle of Dogs, Fantastic Mr. Fox, those Leica films with Kubo and the Two Strings, Missing Link. Those are stop motion animation films. And these are the types of films that sadly just don't put butts in seats in the box office. And it's my favorite type of animation. It just feels like so much work and effort and heart are put into these movies. And you can really see that, I think, the most out of any genre or any even form of animation. This is the type of thing that really drives me, and one of the reasons I really like film a lot is these people putting in all this work just for 1 hour and 50 movie. And especially stop motion, this takes years of people's lives to get, just maybe months to get one shot done. It's a spectacular feat when these movies get made, and that's why I'm a huge fan of these films. So let's get into Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. With my overall statement is that I think this film is fantastic. I was hearing how emotional it was, and I really still wasn't even prepared for it. This is a very emotional. This is obviously, now if you're not familiar, Pinocchio was a book originally, and Disney based their early 30s 40s film off of that book, but very much Disney-fied with a lot of more songs and just different locations. And that's also what obviously the 2022 Disney Plus remake of that is very much the remake of the Disney version of Pinocchio, which is what everyone kind of goes to. But I think everyone forgets that there was an original book. And Del Toro does basically a blend of a lot of his own original ideas mixed in with the original mythology of Pinocchio. And this film has a lot of great messages. Now, yes, it is PG. Kids can still watch it. They might not get the overwhelming messages, but I think this is one of the most adult animated films in a very long time. Very mature film. And one of the biggest reasons why is that this film has a lot of messages about death, about moving on from death. As again, the whole point of this movie is Geppetto, who is the heart and soul of this movie. I know a lot of people, Pinocchio obviously is, but it's really Geppetto's performance as well. David Bradley, who I've only seen in the Harry Potter films, does a fantastic job voicing Geppetto, and the character is so hard. You're just rooting for Geppetto. He loses his son, and he makes this boy, and Pinocchio, and you're just with him. You just want him to succeed, and he's been through so much, and I think everyone can kind of relate to Geppetto. At least some point in your life, you're going to be able to relate to Geppetto in this film, and he's so loving, and you just want him to succeed, and he really is the heart and soul of this movie, and there's no really all this emotion without Geppetto, and really most of the emotion really does come from Geppetto and the messages that he teaches Pinocchio in the film. Gregory Mann, who I think this is his first ever performance in a movie, he was fantastic as Pinocchio. The voice work is stellar. He can both, yes, there are songs in this movie, but it's not as vibrant as the Disney versions are, but there's definitely songs in there. Gregory Mann brings the songs, but he also brings the youthfulness that Pinocchio is, but also brings, you can feel the voice work also maturing throughout the film. And that's a tough feat, and I was really impressed by him. Always great to hear Ewan McGregor. He plays this Sebastian the Cricket, not Jiminy Cricket like it is in Disney. But Ewan McGregor also is fantastic in the film, as is all the other voice work. Finn Wolfhard's really good as Candlewick, a character who I didn't really care about in the first 2 acts of the movie, and then once his character Candlewick and Pinocchio are at this military thing, their storyline hit me a lot more than I thought. And that was really great as well. Tim Blake Nelson's The Black Rabbit was a lot of fun. Christoph Waltz kind of plays the overarching villain of the movie. Count Volpe, who's the puppeteer guy who wants Pinocchio to be the star of his puppet show, and he's kind of has some evil intentions. So Christoph Waltz casting was perfect. Von Perlman. And then you also have Cate Blanchett, who plays the new character in the film, not even included in any of the lore, Spazzatura, who's like a monkey, I guess, if I can remember right. But you'll notice when she's involved as a voice work for the monkey, but another great character that fits perfectly with Geppetto, Cricket, and Geppetto, which I thought was really smart in the movie. But as I said, this movie was very emotional. I think the opening 10 minutes of this movie for me gets really close to Up territory. It is really emotional. And even though you know exactly what happens, even if you don't know the story, the movie tells you what's going to happen, it's still really heartbreaking, very emotional, and very effective, especially with Geppetto's character and in relation with his human son, Carlo. In their relationship. I think in all the other Pinocchios, it's just kind of like, oh, his son's dead, he needs another son, here's Pinocchio. This movie takes the time to show you why Geppetto would even do this, and Geppetto's relationship with his son. I think it's something that's been missing in all of the Pinocchio films to date, and when this film really handed home, it was beautiful, heartbreaking, just overall a sad way to open the movie, but it was so fantastic, and I just had chills watching the first 10 minutes of this film. As it moves along, there's a military subplot. This movie deals with a lot of things. It deals with religion. It deals with war. It deals with the military. It deals with loss, grief, moving on. There's so many different things that this movie tackles, but it all fits. And sometimes I say that people throw too many things, but they have to blend together. And I think the messaging of this film fits in just beautifully together, and it's not shoved down your throat. The thoughts on war, the thoughts on politics, the thoughts on death, it's not just in your face. It fits the characters, it fits the story, and it really kept me I was emotionally invested from the moment the movie started to the moment the movie ended. And usually when I see movies at home by myself, I'm kind of talking to myself during the movie, not a lot, but just bits and pieces, and I couldn't talk the whole movie. I was very much speechless watching this entire film, especially the ending. I had to sit and rethink about that movie for 5 minutes after I saw it. Just a mesmerizing film. And before I even keep going my little bit of nitpicks, the animation is fantastic. It's the most beautifully, I think, shot stop motion animated film I have ever seen. There are elements that look kind of real mixed in with stop motion, I don't know if that was the case, but the stop motion animation just brings out something out of me, I think, more than most people. I love stop motion animation, and I think it makes this movie a lot more emotional that it was in live action and then wasn't just a regular animated film. The stop motion element, the fact that Pinocchio's this wood carving, just adds so much to the movie. And you can see there's a great military scene in near like this end of the second act, heading to the third act, that I could not believe was stop motion. I could not imagine how long they took to shoot that sequence. But it was fantastic to watch. And I just love stop motion animation. It's one of the most beautiful animated movies I've seen in a very long time. The score as well, Alexander Desplat, who is the usual tag team partner of Guillermo del Toro's films. He did the score once again. And, you know, Desplat is one of the best composers working today. He's won 2 Oscars, but he's been nominated a bunch of times. And his score is also really beautiful and knows exactly where to be. My only kind of issue, I guess, with the movie is kind of the second act. The least interesting part of the movie is when Pinocchio's doing this thing with Christoph Waltz's character. It's just isn't as interesting as I think the intro was. Like, once Pinocchio goes off on the adventure, it is a lot less interesting than Pinocchio with Geppetto. That's the point. But I didn't really love that the middle part of the movie. I guess I liked it. I didn't love it as much as the first and third acts of the movie. That's a real nitpick. Not a lot to go. I do think you do feel the length sometimes. So I maybe shorten it by like 10 minutes, but overall, I love this movie. Really, from start to finish, I think it's by far and away the best animated film of the year. Not just, I think it's one of the best animated films in the last 5 years. I think maybe it is the best. It's a fantastic animated film. Even if you like the Disney-fied versions of this character, it's a great perspective if you're not familiar with the story. If you love Guillermo del Toro, if you love stop motion animation, and you just want to see a new version of this character, again, the Disney Pinocchio that came out this year, the live action with Robert Zemeckis, it's in my bottom 5 of the year. This is my top 5. I'm going to give Pinocchio a 4.5 out of 5. I'm going to go 94% for Pinocchio. It's one of the best movies of the year. And I can't wait to keep talking with people and trying to tell people to see this movie. It is available right now on Netflix, so please go check it out. That's my thoughts on Pinocchio. Please like the video, subscribe, ring the bell. More videos soon, including my box office breakdown show. That'll be out tomorrow. Other reviews, including on Saturday, you'll get my review of Avatar: The Way of Water. Tons of other reviews are going to hit the channel, including Emancipation. Tons of reviews. I'll see you guys soon.